Come on, Clem, let's go. Water bottle's down there. Now, what you need to remember about Arnington is that they'd won nothing for nigh on 90 years. They only just made it into the Superstar League, and their arch rivals are Cronbridge Rovers.
Yeah, but remember the kerfuffle, remember the controversy, remember the hullabaloo when they appointed Graham Ackridge, a former Cronbridge manager, in charge there.
It's a bit like after all his success at the Emirates, Arsene Wenger going, do you know what, actually? Do you know what I've always wanted to do? I want to manage Tottenham.
Never mind that, Pougatch. It's a bit like Fergie taking the Sheikh's millions at City.
The thing is, it was so controversial that when actually he was appointed, when Ackridge was appointed, the Arnington fans were so outraged that they protested outside the ground and they burnt effigies of him.
Yeah, but you remember what he said when he was manager at Cronbridge? He said that players lose matches, not tactics, and that Arnington had far too many losers in their lineup. Don't mind me.
Anyway, the thing about Ackridge was that he really toughened Arnington up, and he had an inspirational captain in a wonderfully named guy called Carter Todd.
Carter Todd sounds like somebody from EastEnders. He played for them, of course, and then became manager, and famously on his first day in charge, walked from home to the ground.
You see, he was very savvy, Carter Todd. He knew the value of PR and of getting the local media on his side, and he had his scarf on. He was kissing the scarf all the way there. Remember the way Clougher used to do that? Carter Todd doing that all the way through the streets, all the way to the ground. So, of course, they lapped it up.
They loved him because they'd been rubbish. They'd achieved absolutely nothing. And under him, he transformed them. They were terrific. Won the title on the final day of the season. 4-2 victory over Biggleshot. Goodness me, there were lock-ins all over the town. They drank Arnington dry.
And of course that feel-good factor carried on for the next few seasons. 3 seasons later, again Carter Todd leading from the front. They played Calderfax in the vital game. Jamie McGinty gets the goal. It finishes 1-1, and Arnington win the league for the second time.
Your turn. Pick up the gear. Jerry Endicott. My man synonymous with Biggleshot. Tough, uncompromising midfielder. In the rattle of Roy Keane.
And this was the job we always wanted, and it was inevitable he'd come back to Blushing Meadows. And by the way, do you know why it's called Blushing Meadows? Because this is where a bride first saw her beloved. She went very, very red.
Yeah, never mind that. That's Endicott, not the groom. Shots, of course, had a bit of an early setback when they lost to Smedich in the cup final.
Jamie Betts was in goal for Smedich that day. Fantastic goalkeeper. I look up to him. He's such a good goalkeeper.
Good.
And Endicott was always determined to get him. And in the end, he did. And do you remember, it was exactly the same when Brian Clough got hold of Peter Shilton. He said, and Endicott said, this lad, this goalie, will be worth 12 points a season.
Betts played his part in season 7 when the Shots beat Milchester 2-1 to win the title. Take note. We need to do it again.
Yeah, he was thrilled, Endicott, and everyone was thrilled for him. But you know what? That's as good as it got. And despite another decade of his being there, no more trophies. So in the end, great pressure from the board, great pressure from the fans. The authorities acted, and they brought in the very experienced Kenny Voss.
He raided his old club to take Portuguese playmaker Adriano Menezes, and as others faltered, they held their nerve to take the title.
And Blushing Meadows went mad. Everybody got down on their knees for Kenny Voss. And do you know what it meant? Do you know what it meant about Kenny Voss? Do you know what it meant? The first man to win the title with 3 different superstar teams.
Not bad. Do you know what I wonder?
What?
Why have I been doing this whole bit talking like a pirate?
All right, Gov.
That'll be £6, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Let me get you a bit of change.
Thank you. Any chance for a beer?
No, not in this ground, alcohol-free.
Okay.
I hope you won't be abusing our good hospitality.
Fair enough.
Stavisham's fierce rivals are Everwich, and after they won the title in their second season, the pressure was really on manager Gary Barnes.
But I tell you what, he came up with it. Stavisham Boss came up with it because the next season they beat Everwich in the vital match 2-1, and it was Darren Yearby who scored the goal. And you can just imagine the scenes of celebration that followed that.
Well, that's the only time the Griffins, as they're known, have won the league. Although they are a renowned cup side, there's something about the knockout competition that really seems to stir them.
Particularly when they're playing their old friends Everwich, because what happened was in season 11 was they played Everwich in the final. Everwich were going for the double, and the Staversham boss, John Warner, said, and if you remember, it's a bit like what Alan Mullery said when Arsenal were going for the double at White Hart Lane in 1971. He said, they are the last team we want to see win the double.
And it was Portuguese striker Henrique Resendes who stopped Everwich's double in a 2-1 win, with a winner coming in the last 5 minutes.
3 years later, they won it again after a replay against Ashton Forest. It was an Italian this time, Gennaro Rinaldi, who scored the goal and played so well, that there was an Ashton legend called Harry Jones who was run so ragged. You know what he did after the game? Press conference, retired, said, "I've had enough. See you, Gav, have a nice game."
And their third cup success came under the Frenchman René Achard, who'd returned to the league after great success in his homeland.
Very interesting, Clem. That's my tenner. Thank you very much.
Thought I got away with that as well.
Pougatch are a very traditional club, big fan base, particularly amongst the Irish and Scottish communities. Really noisy end, like the Stretford end used to be at Old Trafford. It's called the Oak End. And do you know what? Only 3 managers in 20 years.
I like their continuity in much the same way as West Ham used to with their manager. Mind you, it wasn't until Owen Melcher's departure that they really started to win things.
Winger Jack Wayne, he was the star that season, chalk on the soles of his boot as he kept tight to the touchline, leading the defences a merry dance as they won the title in the end quite easily, even if there was only a game to spare.
But in that final game, Wayne was hit by a thundering Carter Todd tackle, went down, never played again. Ah! Pipe down, you shandy drinking wuss. And with his injury, the fire and the magic went out of the Thistle boys.
Do you know what? That was a really sad end to what had been a brilliant and glittering career. And after that, Pougatch, do you know who they were, Clem? They were Tottenham. They were entertaining, they were shambolic, they never threatened to win the league, but you know what? Always sniffing round the cup.
Season 16, the cup came to the Vale courtesy of Italian Gianfranco Bettini. Bellissimo! He scored both goals in the final.
The next season, the manager, Matt McCarthy, a monochrome figure amongst a kaleidoscope of Italians and French and a few yeoman Brits. He was the manager as they reached the final, and it was a Frenchman, Adrien Boulanger, the baker, who was amongst the scorers as they won the final.
And they made it 3 cup victories in 4 seasons after winning a second replay. How quaint. And you know who got the goal? Clark Danner, relieved to be known for something other than being named after Superman's alter ego Clark Kent.